Cummings, Kit Fairchild, Craig McIntyre, and Craig's this is gonna be one of our stranger interviews because I have never interviewed an insurance commissioner before. So he's running for Oklahoma State Insurance Commissioner, and I'm telling you, of complaints, that the number one is that. I mean, literally,
that and roads.
You're right.
And roads. Probably roads.
I'm going with insurance because
Really?
I just wrote the check. That's probably why.
There you go. Exactly.
So, outside of when you go to doors, there is no way that there is anything else anybody wants to talk about because that's number one in food costs.
It's the highest cost. It's one of the highest costs in the nation is in Oklahoma for insurance, housing insurance.
Oklahoma homeowners insurance, they just came out again. It's the highest in the nation.
Why?
And the Oklahoma
The affordability state, people.
Affordability, right. And so part of the problem in Oklahoma is the weather, right? We all accept that.
Yeah.
But they have the same weather in Nebraska. They have the same weather in Kansas.
Iowa.
They've got the same weather in Iowa. They've got it in the plains of Colorado. Colorado is actually, Colorado Springs, the hail capital of the world.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I only know this because I worked at USA Insurance for a while, and the Air Force Academy's there. And so they got to insure these guys because they're in the Air Force, and that's what USA does.
Right.
Yeah.
But they would get hammered every single year with massive hail. And
that's
so
crazy.
they've got terrible weather.
No man.
Texas, in some ways, has much worse weather than we do. But if you look at up and down the board, Oklahoma has the highest homeowners insurance rates in the nation. We've got about the 12th or 13th highest auto insurance
Yeah,
rates.
there's other places their homes are more expensive too.
Yes. And see, you're the first person who's actually bring that up, right?
Yeah.
People don't talk about it. We're not talking like it's the highest per $1,000 of coverage or anything like that, right? We're talking like it's you write the check. It's the biggest check.
Yeah.
Higher than Florida, higher than the coastal.
That's crazy.
And so it's twofold. Part of it's weather, right? I mean,
Part
we're
of
never
it.
going to be Rhode Island. We're never going to be something like that. But part of it is, and I'm going to take a half step to the side, is that the legislature addressed part of this year in the session with House Bill 3781. But the insurance department for personal lines insurance in the state of Oklahoma has never actually done anything. And
Really?
because insurance companies were required to, were not required to file the rates before they started using. So they would just start using rates, and they had 30 days to submit what the insurance commissioner at the time determined to be adequate information to let them decide whether or not they're cheating. Let's use that term.
Yeah.
And so the last two insurance commissioners have pretty much scaled that way down. And so that's a big part. The other part that people didn't realize, and I've talked to a lot of people in the last, well, really since October, but I threw my hat in the ring in April.
Right.
And so historically, the insurance commissioner of the state could only declare rates to be illegal, could stop rates if they were too low or too low or unfairly discriminated. Yeah, that's the last thing you want, right? At the end of the day.
If they're too high, that's okay.
But if they were too high, that was fine.
That's crazy.
Unless it was a non-competitive marketplace.
Makes you wonder about kickbacks or anything else or favors that these other people are getting to be.
So I tend to think that most people are going to do the right thing. Maybe that's going to be my downfall. I'll lose this race because I think people
You're
are
a
going to do the right
Democrat,
thing.
so they
Yeah,
think more
exactly.
positive.
Whatever, right? I'm going to make the utopia be whatever it is,
Yeah,
right?
gotcha.
But at the end of the day, it's kind of like, so if you're given the choice, somebody comes up and goes, I'm going to give you, you can pick a number between 1 and 10, how much money you want from my pocket. What number are you going to pick?
I'm gonna
I'm
take
gonna
one.
You're going to take 1?
Well,
Really?
I'm gonna
Hey, take 10. Everybody's going to, I'm taking 10.
I'll pick.
Oh, I thought you said
Okay,
I'm
I
gonna
believe
get
the
a pick from
80-20
my
rule.
pocket.
No. I got the money. I go, here, how much do you want?
I'm a big 80-20 rule guy. So
Okay,
I'll
so
take
80.
I'll take 80 and you
Okay.
can keep 20 and
And
we'll
then we
not fair.
both prosper,
I
right?
misunderstood the question.
I was like, wow, you truly are a generous man.
No, I'm not that generous. There you go.
And so when nobody's looking, the insurance companies always have a range of what their data shows is going to be a reasonable choice.
Yeah.
They're always going to choose the high end.
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
Why wouldn't
always,
you choose the
right.
high end? And then once you start doing that, you start walking close to the line. Anybody can tell you what they want, but nobody really knows what goes into the rates in the state of Oklahoma
Yeah.
because nobody's looking at it. So if you had kids,
Yeah.
if you're lucky enough to have had kids or grandkids, what do you do at Christmas? You say, hey, Santa's watching. And you don't do anything else. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Behavior changes,
Right.
right? And there's something in science, I'm a mathematician by trade.
Okay.
So in science, there's something called the observation effect, which says every experiment's outcome changes when it's observed.
So it's the trust but verify.
And so it trust but verify,
Right.
whatever. So 3781 was a huge deal. I actually consulted on a couple of the Senate side bills that didn't make it through. But basically what it does now is all insurance companies are required to file their personal lines rates before they can start using them, 30 days before. And the insurance department has the ability to review them and reject them.
Right.
Or accept them. They also added, back to what I said about the 2 reasons why, right? We're the only state I've ever heard of, and I've done filings in like 20 states. We're now allowed to reject rates if they're too high.
Oh, nice.
And so that bill passed,
Yeah.
and with bipartisan support, it was actually authored by a Republican. The Senate bills were both Democrat and Republican were authored. So it was one where I think the voices of the people in the state finally got to that point.
When it comes to insurance commissioner, like we were talking, that it's not a sexy race. A lot of people are paying attention, but because rates are so high, I bet more people are paying attention now than they probably ever have.
Which is your lucky day.
And 3781, the timing of it, because when I threw my hat in the ring on April 3rd, right? At like 3:00 in the afternoon.
Right.
You don't get any later in the race. And I got interviewed
in
by.
case the money order's wrong, you got to be able to go change it.
Exactly.
Right.
And so on Tuesday, I got interviewed by the Daily Oklahoman. Well, all the candidates did. And one of the things they asked about was like, what is the insurance commissioner able to do? And the job of the commissioner is the CEO of the department, and the department is a regulator, advocate for insurance, and controls the rules and laws written by the legislature. We don't get to create rules and laws. And so I was like, well, I'm afraid this is going to die. This bill passed out of committee, it passed the Senate, it got rewritten, but it's still got teeth. It's going over to the House, but it's going to go, and it went to committee, and that one actually did die. And so I spent most of the month of April going, blah, 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 this is going to die. But one of my goals when I get elected is to advocate for this bill in the next session. Then there was a House bill that went to committee, and on the final day, because all the stuff that was happening in the final 2 days, it passed.
The
flurry, and it went to the governor's desk, and it got signed. And so, I mean, the legislature works a lot, and this time it worked. And so that was great. So it changed my total message and really messed with the Republican message.
Right. Because now they have to do something because the law is there.
Yes, and they've all said,
and
if you watch
their paper going no.
Right, and if you watch their debates, they're like, well, yeah, it's important, and we'll have to hire an actuary. You have no idea.
You want to tell people?
You're
actually
that brings a good segue into your experience.
Yeah. So I worked as an actuary. I worked as product manager. I worked as
for people who don't know, you have to tell them what an actuary is.
Okay, so an actuary is the person in an insurance company. When I started out, it was referred to as a financial fortune teller. So they figure out how much money an insurance company has to charge so they don't go broke. That's the theory of it. So they got to be able to pay claims if they come up, and they have to be able to cover expenses.
And how long were you doing that?
So overall in my career, over 30 years.
Over 30 years of experience in the insurance business. That sounds important, people, to understand.
And
the guy knows.
And the 2 people who are still remaining in the race on the other side are both agents.
Right.
And the last insurance commissioner was an agent. And the insurance commissioner before that was an agent. And one of the guys in the race this time is also a politician. And so when you get down to it and you ask, they will say we have to hire an actuary. And that's the first thing you should notice is that, no, you actually have to build an actuarial department because there's hundreds of rate filings a year and the department has 30 days. That's it. They got a 30-day window on each filing. So you need expertise. You have to be able to craft guidelines. You have to be able to draft policies. So both the insurance companies know what they need to file. Because, I mean, right now it sounds like, I beat the drum. We're going to lower rates. We're going to make claims fair and transparent. We're going to make insurance companies pay what they owe. But at the end of the day, you have to have a market. You have to have companies. And so if you become a draconian,
somehow, they can't. You can't, or they won't.
They won't stay.
They won't be able to.
And so one of the things we have to do is give guidelines and a framework to insurance companies so they understand what they have to do. I mean, we have now joined the ranks of 43 other states in requiring insurance companies to submit the rates before they use them. And this will give you an idea of how long the market's been the way it is. So it's a regulated market. It's not a free market, right? Free markets exist when the buyer and the seller can both just kind of walk away. But if you want to drive, you got to have insurance. You want to own a home, you got to have insurance. You want to have a business, you got to have insurance, right? You don't have a choice. So we've gifted the insurance industry a captive market. It's like these people all have to have it, so you have customers when you come in. In exchange for that, you have to advocate for the customers because the insurance companies have attorneys and experts and all of this. And at the end of the day, the average guy and gal on the street the only time they use insurance is a bad time in their life.
And it never goes well.
And it never does.
Right.
Okay,
It just
think
never
of
goes.
any other business you enter into. Like, just let's say you go to McDonald's, right? And you go, I'll have a Happy Meal. And your Happy Meal comes out and you go, there's no burger in my Happy Meal. And they go, well, you didn't submit the right order when you got up there. And so we gave you the fries and the toy, but we didn't give you the burger. And if you look at the bottom of the receipt, it says you're supposed to check it at the counter. And if you don't, you don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine? Right?
Yeah.
And that
Insurance
their
is the
profit
only-
comes from not paying.
A huge part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? And so all I'm saying is transparency
Yeah.
and fairness. If
Yeah.
you agree to pay for something, pay for it.
Pay for
I
it.
ran into a guy the other day. He was joking with me. He goes, you know what my roof deductible is? I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know where you live. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
and he goes, $30,000.
Holy moly.
And I looked at him and
Oh,
went, I shook his hand and he goes,
Seriously?
why are you shaking my hand? I said, you have a lot more money than I do. Because
Yeah.
if your roof deductible's 30 grand, he goes, no, my roof deductible's 5%. So,
5%.
so he lives in like a 600,000, which is a nice house. I'm not
Nice house,
disputing that,
right.
right?
Yeah.
And I said, so how much is a new roof for your $600,000
Yeah.
house? And he goes, well, my neighbor's a contractor. And he said, oh, about 30 grand. So he's paying for insurance
No.
and he knows ahead of time he's not getting anything.
Yeah.
And so if you talk to anybody else who's running, they'll say things like, we're going to lower rates by bringing in more competition.
Right.
That works in a true free market.
Yeah.
But
that's
it-
not what we have.
And when you have a semi-monopoly, I'm not going to say because the top three companies
Not
control
really.
65% or whatever, but they are the big dogs in the fight. So anybody new coming in has to be cheaper than them
Yeah.
and has to build enough market share to justify being here.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a big ask.
Yeah.
And so unless the department can work on bringing them in, it's going to be hard to get big national players to come in who aren't already here. So, and that takes years to sort of lower the rates going that way.
Yeah.
One of the former people running, his big thing was roofs and
Yeah.
building codes
Yeah.
and fortified roofing program. And nobody's going to dispute. At the end of the day, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like if your houses are built stronger so they don't, like on
With
EF0
standard
doesn't
wind or hail.
it's going to be better. But if you think of it this way, what he was saying and what most of the insurance industry and the regulators and not the regulators, the legislature is saying is that we're going to ask you, the citizens of Oklahoma, to pay more so that insurance companies pay less
Yeah.
in hopes that they lower your rates.
That's not
And there's no doubt down the road that will help with rate increases, but that's not the solution.
I'll take 8 and
Right?
give you 2.
Exactly. Okay, Wimpy.
Gotta be some
I'll pay you
fairness.
tomorrow for a hamburger today,
go.
right?
Yeah.
So then the other way that people are looking at this, and you hear this all the time, is tort reform.
Yeah.
We live in a tort state.
Yeah.
And so one of the candidates who's, I should save this for the general, but whatever. I'm not going to mention his name. You guys can all figure it out if you've been watching.
Is he Irish? Because
Because
I think I know who it is.
So his thing is tort reform, and he talks about look at Florida and USAA, and Florida spent this much money, and then they
Yeah.
had tort reform, and now they don't, and they gave money back. Well, first of all, Florida gives money back every year because they had, I'm not Florida, USAA, because they had a dividend. Number two, it was a court mandated return of premium for part of it, so they, not court mandated, but legislature, in
Yeah.
exchange for the tort reform.
Right.
But the key I tell him, and I've mentioned this to him in one of our forums that I got invited to, is two things. One, auto insurance in Florida is totally different than Oklahoma. In Florida, it's no fault. So your insurance company covers your own until you crack a threshold.
Yeah.
Once you crack the threshold, you can sue. Well, that threshold's pretty low, so you can figure out where a lot of fraud goes. If I
Yeah.
can get your medical bills above 10 grand or whatever that number is, then I can sue. But the second part is they had something called comparative negligence, full comparative negligence, which meant if the other person in the accident or whatever was even 10% at fault, you can sue their insurance company, even if you were 90%
No
at fault.
way.
And that used to be pure comparative negligence, used to be that way in a lot of states, been dialed back. So Florida changed that, which I think is a good thing. And
The negligent party pays.
yeah, so, well, but it's called now, it's a modified comparative negligence. And the system they chose is almost identical to
Not us.
us.
Seriously?
Yeah, and so somebody's running on a message of we're going to change our tort system to be like us,
Okay, that's
Well, we
actually
changed that.
hilarious.
right?
In the 90s too, late 90s.
Yeah, and then there was workers' comp change
like
and it
that.
made a big difference.
Yeah.
But the thing that I keep reminding people is that, again, we go back to the insurance department, the insurance commissioner is an advocate for the people who have insurance.
Yeah.
Because you are at an
Yeah.
unfair disadvantage going in.
Which gets
So-
us into what is your platform? What is it that
Well,
you're going to do when you get in there?
Yeah.
What can you do for us?
Because you're one of the best communicators of a complicated deal I've
Yeah.
ever seen in my life.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah,
So,
lazy.
I say this all the time. I'm like, if and I'm gonna this is gonna be a stupid analogy, but if you hear hooves,
Mhm.
you look for horses, not zebras, right? I
Yeah.
mean, at the end of the day. So if you want to lower rates, and the legislature just gave you the tool to lower rates, my suggestion would be
Use
lower
that tool.
rates.
Maybe use,
Use
lower
the
rates.
maybe use
tool,
it.
lower rates. I mean, am I going to guarantee everybody sees a 20% rate
Yeah.
increase? No, but at least we will know what's going in. We will know if people are playing fairly or not
Right.
playing
Yeah.
fairly, and we'll do that. The other thing,
So is this the first look at the books for these guys in 20 or 30 years?
I would say, so Commissioner Mulready and Commissioner Doak will argue this point.
Right.
They'll say we've looked and we can request, and they do request certain things, but in-depth, detailed actuarial numbers, that hasn't been done.
Right.
And
That's amazing.
And so there's
That's just a free
there-
ride.
Wait. There's one state, which will go nameless, who still uses what's called desk filings.
Mhm.
I don't even file them. They just create new rates and put them in a filing cabinet. And if the insurance
that's it.
department goes, hey, we think you're cheating, send us your rates, then they provide them then. There's still one.
Right.
So, and you look at, like I posted something this morning, Texas now has a new thing on their website where insurance can look at the rate filing data.
Mm.
They can look at
Oh,
claims
yeah.
data, they
Yeah.
can do all of this. And Texas is not exactly what I call a raging
Yeah.
liberal
Yeah.
blue state,
Yeah.
right? But they also recognize the fact that if you want fairness and transparency, then you have to have everybody be fair and transparent, right? So that's the second
Yeah.
part, is claims. I was lucky in my life at the latter half of my career. I worked for two gentlemen, which is ironic because they hated each other, two different companies. But they both said the same thing, and is that our job as an insurance company is when a claim happens, we pay every dime we owe. We don't pay a dime more,
Right.
but we don't pay a dime less.
Right.
And I think that's what
fair,
everybody,
yeah.
right? And most people have a misunderstanding
fair.
of what
Right.
is fairness.
Yeah.
And so I was asked by somebody in Bixby a month ago, and they were like, other candidates said something like, well, the insurance companies have the expected accountability and transparency that people are talking about, they're gonna leave the state. And I was dumbfounded. I just sat there and
People
went,
come up with
what?
this, right.
And the interviewer went, well, I'm like, no, I understood your question. I'm not dumb. But we want fairness, transparency, and
Yeah.
accountability. And if you're an insurance company who doesn't want to be fair,
Right.
doesn't want to be transparent, and doesn't want to be accountable for what happened, like bye bye.
Yeah, let them go.
Need you.
Yeah.
Exactly,
It's not
because
good for the citizens.
the people are then paying and
Yeah.
getting nothing in return. I
Yeah.
talked to a woman in Stigler a month ago, and she's had insurance with this company forever. She had an incident. She reported it to her agent, and the agent was like, "Oh yeah, you're fully covered. It's not a problem."
Huh.
And it was a bulldozer that kind of turned and rolled over into a pond, and she
Yeah.
owned this company. And so the insurance company said no, because there's no evidence that it rolled over. I'm like, well, it's a farm pond that you can't see, and the divers had to go in and hook a thing up and pull it out. And
Yeah, because it's
and
murky and
then the
brown.
company said, well, do you have pictures? So how are we gonna have pictures? They had pictures when it came out, but as they pulled it out, of course, it righted itself,
Yeah.
right? Because of the way you pull them out. And so she's like, what do I do? And I said, look, I'm not a claims guy. I recommend you always, when you're in doubt with a legal contract, find an attorney that you trust
Yeah.
Yeah.
and ask them what the contract says, and then move from there. And one of the things
Mm.
about tort
Good,
reform
good
is
tip,
this, is
good
that
tip.
you're at an disadvantage. The only tool the insurers of Oklahoma still have right now, it'll change if I'm commissioner, but the only tool they have is if they're getting unacceptable, unfair service, they need to sue. I'm not,
That's
and,
insane.
I mean,
And pay
and
for
which
it,
is
yeah.
insane, because we all pay for
Yeah.
that, right? I mean, it's just crazy.
All right.
So,
You got a
You got
minute?
about two, yeah.
oops, sorry,
Close this
okay.
up. No, that was
You
great
got a
conversation.
website, all that stuff, talk about your campaign.
Yeah, so I've got a website at craigforcommish26.com.
Commish.
Commish, with an SH.
Right.
And then I'm going around the state. I've got about half the counties I've had put things in. I'm going to be doing that. We're going to really kick it off after the runoff, because I don't know who I'm going to be.
Right.
The other big thing is, I hate to say this, sorry guys, but if you want a grassroots campaign to succeed, you need to either volunteer or
Money.
put your money where
Yeah.
your mouth
Yeah, that's
is,
the money.
because the other people who are running have raised over $250,000.
How do they do that? What, you got a link on your website?
They
You got
can,
an
yeah,
Act Blue
on my,
account?
you can do it. I've got an Act Blue account. I've got a Good Change account. I've got a link on my website. You can reach out directly to me. But at the end of the day, the important thing to remember is you got to vote, and bring somebody who never
Yeah.
votes with you when you go to
Man,
vote.
I
Good
tell you
idea.
what, between you and Nick Coffey, the two best statewide candidates I have seen in ages.
Thank you very much.
And I mean, I'm going to go 15 years. So it's great having you on.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it.
Anytime
Thank
you're
you.
in town, if you just want to do just kind of a gather up and let people know what's happening. He was doing this announcement. He's from Mary Fallon's hometown. And I was going to go down there, and I don't know what happened that day. Something happened. I didn't get to go. But I wish I could have been there for that because I just wanted to see it get kicked off.
Well, I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
That's right. Great.
Excellent
Thank you.
explanations of everything.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Kit, take us out.
All right, this is the Will Rogers Experiment podcast, and we will, well, I guess we'll see you guys next week. Later.
I didn't even get to my favorite tagline in there.
Neither one of these are, there we go.